Center here in Denver, Colorado. It wasn't just a big night of fight. It was a big night of memorable moments.
Conor McGregor with us here in Denver, Colorado. Good left hand from Rockhold. Right hand, right back from Mike Perry.
Can I get a face-off with Conor McGregor, man?
It's an incredible setup here, incredible matchmaking, incredible storytelling. Oh, you had to come here. All these fighters that step in here are warriors, and all have my respect. And I'm into this game, yeah. I'll be into this, yeah.
And we are live here in the Maverick Center, here in Salt Lake City, Utah, folks. What a night. It is going to be historic indeed for BKFC 56.
Whoever's the king of violence right here, this is going to be a great fight.
Perry on the target. Right hand from Mike Perry. Double check. Who's the king of violence? I am!
Combat fighting in its purest form, bare knuckle fighting in the city of angels.
80 seconds remaining.
We've got the biggest announcement in the BKFC history we're about to make, so let's make that announcement.
What's up, Knucklemania? The notorious Conor McGregor here. Ladies and gentlemen, the huge announcement that I have for you today. Conor McGregor, myself, and McGregor Sports and Entertainment is now an owner of Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship. Welcome to the big leagues. David Feldman, baby, we did it.
He's now an owner of BKFC with us, and we're going to take this motherfucking thing all the way to the top now.
Good morning. Welcome to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Craig Mish back here with our next edition of the show here on Tuesday. Thanks for tuning in every Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. Eastern, as we get you ready for the upcoming college football season. Week 0 is just several days away. Of course, all week long we'll have previews of those games as well. In addition, the National Football League, some big decisions at quarterback being made. We'll have the very latest on that. Gilbert McGregor will weigh in on the WNBA games tonight. In fact, Gilbert will be at one of the games in the WNBA tonight, so we'll preview that game as well. In addition, we've got a preview of the Atlanta Falcons season coming up. Of course, we have the SportsGrid Sound Off segment and our guest contributor, as always, from Legal Sports Report, touching on the world and business of sports betting. But let's get started right now with another decision at quarterback. Yesterday, we had the Raiders. Today, we have the Washington Commanders. I'm getting used to saying Commanders by now. The rookie, Jaden Daniels, gets the call. He is going to start the season opener for Washington. Not a huge surprise when you're taking this high in the NFL draft, but it is now official, as we're going to see a number of rookie quarterbacks, I would imagine, over the first couple of weeks of the season, and Daniels right there at the top. He's had a pretty good preseason. Dan Quinn made the announcement official yesterday, but before we get to that, they've had week 1 starting quarterbacks in various talent degrees, is putting it mildly. Daniels in 24, Sam Howell opened up in 23, Carson Wentz in 22, Fitzpatrick in 21. My gosh, they have really gone through it. I didn't realize how many different quarterbacks they've had. It's the 8th straight year a new starting quarterback opens up for Washington. But Dan Quinn basically made the announcement yesterday and said the reporters can now stop bugging him as he names a quarterback.
But Jaden Daniels is our starting quarterback. Drop the mic, Chick.
I didn't see that coming.
Yeah, of course you didn't. Yeah. You're pressuring me so much over the last few weeks, I felt it was time to promptly tell you I'd know, you'd know, he'd know. I think the practice before we left to go down to Miami was the best one I had seen from him on the Tuesday prior to us leaving that Wednesday. The command of it, the accuracy, the details of it, that was one of the best practices I'd seen him have, was the best practice I'd seen him have. And so I think that was more in line with, who he is, what he does, the checks, the calls, the communication, the delivery of the ball. He was just really on point. So it was just cool to see all of that, come to life.
All right, so Daniels gets the call. Now, guess who gets the bag? It's a general manager for the Alabama Crimson Tide. That's right. Like, teams now have general managers in college football to make sure that they get the proper players and NIL deals. Courtney Morgan has a new precedent-setting contract with Alabama. And right now, it looks like the fee is $825,000 under a 3-year contract. The general manager behind Washington's runner-up finish. And this is a new day and age in college football, folks. The players are getting paid. Coaches are even going to get paid more, and even you need a GM to get this done. Well, speaking of getting paid, how much money are you willing to pay for Sunday NFL ticket this season? Once upon a time, I remember this thing was $200. It was $200. Then they went to max up and all kinds of crazy stuff, like $300-$400. I thought $300-$400 was insane. How about this? There are reports right now circulating that when it is launched in the App Store, and again, it's on YouTube TV, that NFL Sunday ticket will be available for $700 this season. Now, I guess over the course of 12, 15 weeks, 16, 17 weeks, I mean, are you going to sit there and watch it every week? I guess so, if you have time. But $700 for Sunday NFL ticket. I guess they're getting paid this. I don't know. Also, by the way, the NFL made an announcement yesterday, or at least there has been some rumors, that the starting position for the kickoffs are going to remain the same. So the touchback rule is not going to go back to the 35-yard line. They're happy with the way the exhibition has gone, averaging approximately a start of the 28.3-yard line, up 4.4 from last season, and that's what they were looking for. So don't look for that to change when the season begins. I know some people have been clamoring for that. Justin Herbert back at practice. Their Chargers are hoping they'll have him for week 1. I would not anticipate seeing him this week on the NFL field. And, of course, with the third preseason coming this week, Buffalo Bills are in search of a quarterback. Mitchell Trubisky and Marquez Valdes-Scantling and Quentin Morris are all going to be out multiple weeks. So Buffalo is going to need at the very least another backup quarterback going into the season. And by the way, they have a quick turnaround after week 1. They play on Thursday Night Football in week 2. Preseason All-Americans are out. Number 1, Georgia. Number 9, Michigan. Each have 3 players picked for the first team. No surprise, Carson Beck is on the list. Also, Tate Ratledge. He's on Georgia too. Defensive back Malachi Starks, also a first-team All-American going into the season. Number 5, Alabama has 2 transfers on the first team in their center and kicker. And Notre Dame and LSU also have a couple of first-team selections. Miller Moss is ready to take the starting quarterback job for the University of Southern California. Lincoln Riley names him the guy. Caleb Williams to the NFL. Moss played well in their bowl game last year. They have seen enough, and it looks like he's going to be, at least for the time being, their starter going into the season. Also, Duke quarterback Malik Murphy has won the Blue Devils starting job. He's going to start the opener against Elon as Manny Diaz is their new head coach. They made that announcement yesterday. Murphy transferred from Texas, which, by the way, is where Manny Diaz was in a previous career. Ole Miss's defensive lineman Xavier Harris was arrested Sunday on domestic violence and obstructing arrest charges. He lives in Mississippi. He was booked on Sunday night. Lane Kiffin, the head coach, said that on Monday the program is aware of Harris's arrest, but there's going to be no comment further on him. Over to Major League Baseball, a month and a half left of the season, and we got the news yesterday that Austin Riley, the great third baseman and all-star for the Braves, is going to be out for the rest of the regular season. 6 to 8 week injury with his wrist, which was broken. They're saying that he could potentially be back for the postseason, but the Braves are not waiting around. They signed Gio Urshela, who was waived by the Tigers last week, cleared waivers. Tigers pay the contract, but Urshela goes to the Braves. Meanwhile, the New York Mets with a monumental home run last night from Francisco Alvarez. Right off the bat, he knew it was gone. Didn't even watch it land, as they beat the Orioles by a final score of 4-3. Mets still very much in the thick of it for the postseason, says their manager, Carlos Mendoza.
Yeah, 100%. It's been hard for him. 22 years old, struggling at the big league level. And I've been saying it, he cares so much and he wants to win. And at times when we're struggling offensively as a team, like he feels like he's responsible. And he's got a lot on his plate, with, taking care of pitching staff and things like that. But the homer, the impact. I like the at-bats as of late, but for him to finally hit one out of the ballpark, it's been a while. and in that situation to give us a win. Happy for him.
Mets are hanging in there. Maybe Alvarez will get hot. Meanwhile, the Astros know hot. They are 10 out of their last 11. They know all about it. They've been one of the best teams in baseball in the second half of the season. 5-4 the final. Yadier Diaz's walk-off home run off Kenley Jansen gives them the win. They're very much in control of their destiny, with the Mariners falling apart. My gosh, they lose again last night. The Dodgers blanked them 3-0. Gavin Stone threw 7 shutout innings, struck out 10. Max Muncy homered, and so did Gavin Lux. Seattle is under 500 since the All-Star break. Meanwhile, tonight in the WNBA, we have 3 games to talk about. We'll preview them with Gilbert McGregor. Among them, the Wings and Liberty, Sparks and Sun, and Storm and Mystics. Meanwhile, Arina Sabalenka and Jannik Sinner have claimed the Masters 1000 title in Cincinnati. That is the warm-up for the U.S. Open. But even bigger news this morning that Sinner has tested positive for a banned anabolic steroid in March and was stripped of prize money and points earned at a tournament in Indian Wells. The ITA, Integrity Agency for Tennis, made the case and announced it this morning. He won the Cincinnati Open on Monday. He'll be among the favorites at the U.S. Open, and as of now, he'll be able to continue to play as a result of contamination from an over-the-counter spray containing cholesterol. That's the latest on Sinner. We'll be right back. Don't go away. One change in the legislature in Missouri is that this guy who's just totally against sports betting there is not going away.
This has been in progress since last fall. They got 300 and some thousand signatures. All they needed was 170, but those were all certified by local election boards. That had to be done by earlier this month. By tomorrow, the Secretary of State has to verify all those signatures.
NewsWire, only on SportsGrid.
Hey, let's say it comes down for Matt Kuchar in the FedEx Cup fall. Let's say he doesn't make a cut, and it comes down to one shot. And
that's a good point.
And he keeps his card for the top 125 because he did make the jump from, I think it was 113 to 103. So he made a 10-spot jump. So he's got, 17, or let's see, that was not good math. He's got about 20.
Not a math bot. The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
If the U.S. gets to a bad start and they're down or close, I may double down on the second quarter because I know that that's when Steve Kerr is going to want to either A, if it's close, open it up. If they're losing, you got to get the lead because you don't want teams like it was in South Sudan to believe that they can win.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Let's go. Welcome to the Live Golf Team Championship.
The golf has been mesmerizing.
They are the Live Golf Team Champions.
Team golf is back.
Oh, yes! Are you ready?
Let's go!
That's what champions do.
Welcome back. We got Gilbert McGregor from Sporting News in the house. In fact, Gilbert's going to a WNBA game tonight, so I wonder if he's going to put a little coin on that. But that's a story for another day. Let's talk about Gilbert with some of the games tonight. Gilbert, welcome back to the show. Great to have you here. So the WNBA is now approaching the home stretch here. What I'm noticing, I don't know if you noticed this, what I'm noticing is a lot of lopsided point spreads in a lot of these games. And I guess that's just the nature of the league at this point. Maybe you can shed some more light on this. But, certainly anytime the Liberty are playing, they're 15, 20-point favorites. Las Vegas has been big favorites as well in a lot of the games that they play. What do you make of some of these big spreads in the WNBA?
I think at this point of the season, we kind of understand and know which teams are focusing on the playoffs and which teams are kind of focusing on the future. And I think that certainly is reflected here. The New York Liberty have been the best team in the league all season. They made a big statement over the weekend. You mentioned Las Vegas. They went into Las Vegas and got a big win against the defending champions in the WNBA Finals rematch. So the Liberty are really cruising and trying to get that number one seed, which goes a long way in the WNBA playoffs. So when you take on a team like the Dallas Wings, who have struggled all year, a lot of it has to do with injuries. They've been rampant by injuries like all season, but now they're getting their players back. I think it might be a little bit closer because of their talent. This is the first of 2 games in a row that they'll play against each other, but New York has just been so good all year.
Yeah, and New York is just crushing teams, like not winning by 10, 20, winning by like 40. And so they're 14.5-point favorite tonight over the Wings. You can be the one to take the points here, Gilbert. I ain't going to do it. Like if I'm going to take any team tonight, I think I just lay the points.
Absolutely. And I think that's it with New York. You talk about Dallas and Satu Sabally is back. She looked really good in her return to the WNBA after missing the beginning part of the season. And I think the Olympics helped her kind of round back into all WNBA form. But New York is so good defensively, they can neutralize other teams' best players. And that's what gives them a big advantage in games like these.
So let's talk about Breanna Stewart and the season that she's having. 19.6 points per game, 8.7 rebounds per game, almost 4 assists, and shooting 50% from the field. Is this as impressive a player as you're seeing this season in the WNBA?
I think she's kind of firmly in second. Asia Wilson has been in the class of her own out in Las Vegas, and it hasn't necessarily contributed to as much team success, but I think they're another team that's been dealt a tough hand with injuries. But think about Breanna Stewart and think about what she's been able to do with this Liberty team, coming up so short from winning a championship last year. You could tell it's a motivated bunch. Kind of feels similar to that Spurs team. Back in 2013, they lost in the finals and then came back on a mission to go all the way. So she's kind of leading the way, but they also have Sabrina Ionescu, Jonquel Jones. But she is certainly the leader of a very talented group.
Yeah, and I would say that interesting notes here to record a double-double double-double tonight. Breanna Stewart plus 125, Jonquel Jones minus 115, and then you have some other options as well in this game. Sabrina Ionescu, a long shot at 7-1. Anything interest you here tonight, Gilbert?
Natasha Howard stands out to me a little bit. That's one who she could be active on the boards and get going scoring, especially not necessarily being that team's first option. So that is one that stands out. Jonquel Jones has been a monster on the boards, and that's obviously evidenced by the odds for that one there. I don't think anybody else will probably get any double-doubles in a game like that, especially if it's a blowout. You could see the starters get pulled pretty early. All
right, so now let's go to another game tonight that you're going to be at. It's Connecticut taking on L.A., another huge spread here tonight. Like, I'm looking for like a -1, -2. I ain't going to get it on the board tonight. Sun, 12.5-point favorites. Why are you going to this, Gilbert? It's going to be a blowout. And by the way, you know what? Let me add this to the mix here. Now, again, you follow the WNBA more than me. The LA Sparks, Gilbert, are horrible, man. What? I mean, wasn't this like a model franchise in the WNBA for a long time? Like, they're just getting crushed.
You think about the talent that's thrown on Sparks uniforms in the past between Lisa Leslie, Candace Park, and plenty other names that I could name, but those are certainly two stand at the top. They're in a rebuild. They're building for the future. De'Erica Hamby did earn an All-Star bid this year, and Cameron Brink showed great flashes before going down with an ACL injury. So I think the future is bright there. They have Rakia Jackson, who's also a standout rookie, but it's going to take some time, as you see with most rebuilds. And I think that's definitely reflected here for the Sun. They have been one of the better teams in the league all season, and this is the equivalent of a must-win because you look at the WNBA standings and teams 2 through 5 are pretty locked in. Only a few games separate them with a month left in the season. So the Sun need to take care of business. The game is at TD Garden. It's the first ever WNBA game at TD Garden. It's already been announced as a sellout. So I think the atmosphere and environment is going to be a lot. It's not necessarily going to be a Sun home crowd, but I'm sure most of them will be cheering for the Sun. So I think that'll fuel them to get a win and get back on track after losing in their last outing.
All right, so 20-plus points, another prop over on FanDuel tonight. Let's take a look at this. Gilbert, you tell me if any darts want to be thrown at any of these players tonight. Bonner is plus 168. Beyond that, it's 2-1 on any of the money.
I like this one. I like Marina Mabry actually. She was a acquisition that the Sun added recently via trade. She's a knockdown shooter. I could see her getting hot and getting kind of into the emotion and the fanfare of this game and having a big night. Her and Bonner are both capable of knocking down several 3-pointers. But Dearica Hamby is also a player. She's going to have a tough time with the physical defense that Connecticut plays on the interior. But I can see her also having a big game. She is an all-star caliber player.
Yeah, would agree. All right, finally, Storm Mystics tonight. Not as big a line as the others, but still 6.5-point favorites. Washington, I know, is not very good. Storm minus 6.5 on the road. Do they get it done?
I like the Storm here and the points. They're coming off a 2-game losing streak, and I think that they are trying to get back on track and make a statement. They're another one of those teams that's in that log jam in the WNBA standings. And, they have 3 players that play in the Olympics. I think that's impacted them a little bit coming out of the break. But I think trying to get back on track against a lower Mystics team will allow them to kind of make a statement to get back on track and get things going in the right direction as the season winds down.
All right, so here's the biggest question of all, Gilbert. Are you media tonight, or are you going as a fan? Which one?
I'll be at a media capacity, so we'll keep professional and tune in. That won't be laying anything on the game. I'll be locked in and see what comes of it.
All right. Well, eat the free food though. I always recommend that tonight. There's definitely going to be that, Gilbert.
Absolutely.
That's a must. Thanks again for coming on. We'll see you again next week. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it.
All right. Don't I know that? All my years covering sports, the media meals. Got to take advantage of those. All right. On that note, we'll take a quick time out here on NewsWire. We come back next. We'll hear from Mike Gundy, the head coach at Oklahoma State, on all the money going around to all the kids. Matt Judon says he is ready to play and not looking for a contract. And, of course, we'll weigh in on the Raiders starting quarterback. Don't go away. One change in the legislature in Missouri is that this guy who's just totally against sports betting there is not going away.
This has been in progress since last fall. They got 300 and some thousand signatures. All they needed was 170, but those were all certified by local election boards. That had to be done by earlier this month. By tomorrow, the Secretary of State has to verify all those signatures.
NewsWire, only on SportsGrid.
Hey, let's say it comes down for Matt Kuchar in the FedEx Cup fall. Let's say he doesn't make a cut, and it comes down to one shot. And
that's a good point.
And he keeps his card for the top 125 because he did make the jump from, I think it was 113 to 103. So he made a 10-spot jump. So he's got, 17, or let's see, that was not good math. He's got about 20.
Not a bad one. The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
If the U.S. gets to a bad start and they're down or close, I may double down on the second quarter because I know that that's when Steve Kerr is going to want to either A, if it's close, open it up. If they're losing, you got to get the lead because you don't want teams like it was in South Sudan that believe that they can win.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Let's go.
Welcome to the Live Golf Team Championship.
The golf has been mesmerizing.
They are the Live Golf Team Champions.
Team golf is back.
Oh, yes!
Are you ready?
Let's go! That's what champions do.
All right, welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Time now for our Sound Off segment. We're going to hear from some of the newsmakers in sports. We'll hear from Matt Judon, who's getting ready to make his debut for the Falcons, maybe this week, we'll see. Also, Oklahoma State getting ready for their first football game of the season in less than 2 weeks. And Gardner Minshew is going to make his debut for the Raiders. Those are the topics we will discuss. It's time now for the Sports Grid Sound Off. Well, we found out yesterday, really Sunday night, honestly, that Gardner Minshew is going to be the starter for the Las Vegas Raiders going into the season. Another season in football for Minshew Mania and another season starting at quarterback. This time it's Las Vegas. But I guess the question becomes, is this another situation where Minshew is a placeholder, either for Aiden O'Connell or for another quarterback going to Las Vegas in the future? That is among the topics that Kevin Walsh has his eye on as it pertains to the Raiders.
We had some NFL news the other day from the Las Vegas Raiders that Gardner Minshew will be QB1 when they take the field on the road against the Chargers to open this season up. A quarterback battle between Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell did not inspire a lot of confidence, though. Certainly from Antonio Pierce. Didn't seem like he was impressed by either guy, but somebody has to get the starting job, which made me realize that the starting job next year probably belongs to someone playing in college right now. So it's a good reminder that week 0 is around the corner. The two favored quarterbacks to be coming off the board early are Georgia's Carson Beck and Colorado's Shedeur Sanders. Raiders fans, get familiar. And don't forget to watch the little Texas football. Quinn Ewers has held off Arch Manning 2 years in a row. A lot of hype around him as well. He is 14-1 to go first. Will the Raiders pick there? Time will tell. Craig, it's back to you.
All right, thanks, Kevin. And I think in the end, there'll be other quarterbacks that we're not talking about right now that end up moving up into the first round. Remember, a year ago, it's not to say that J.J. McCarthy wasn't a good quarterback at Michigan, but nobody had him projected going in the first round of the NFL draft in 2024. Meanwhile, the NIL deals are still flying around in college football, and there is one coach out there that is just sick and tired of hearing about it. Now, of course, it's part of the game now, and you got to play the game to make sure you pay the kids to come to your school. But now that the season is beginning, it looks like Oklahoma State's head coach Mike Gundy has had enough of being asked for the cash. He was asked by reporters about still paying out NIL money even after the season begins.
That's what I told the players. There's no negotiating now. Portal's over. All negotiations history. Now we're playing football.
You can enjoy
just coaching and playing football.
Conference and a 12-team playoff and everything being so different, just the newness of it.
Yeah, and the business side of what we do now is we have to have those conversations with them. Tell your agent to quit calling us and asking for more money. It's non-negotiable now. Start again in December. So now we're able to direct ourselves just at football, and that part is fun because there's been so much other stuff going on. It's been hard to really focus on football.
It's kind of a crazy way to open up the door to here, because I think a lot of people don't even know that a lot of these collegiate athletes now have representatives or agents. And honestly, I did not know that they're still trying to negotiate deals even after the season has begun. I would like Gundy thought that was it, and it happened in December. But very interesting note there from the head coach. Meanwhile, also looking for money was Matt Judon from the New England Patriots. And of course, he did not receive it. So the Atlanta Falcons came in and said, yeah, we'll take him. We'll make a trade. And unlike another player who shall be named nameless with the New York Jets, Judon is ready to play for the Falcons and is not looking for a new contract, at least immediately, until he proves himself. When have you ever heard that from a professional athlete? Here's Judon about waiting to get paid.
Yeah, when we was able to talk, the conversation went good, the call went good, and it kind of happened when I was asleep. So, my picking opportunity was pretty slim. But when we talked, it was good, and we had good conversations, and I just liked it how they was fired up. Atlanta Falcons know nothing about me as a football player, and as about me as a man, or that stuff. They really know my previous resume, and so. I can't really demand or ask for anything that I haven't worked for, and that's where I've been my whole life. So I'm gonna work for it, man. I got my GV hat on, man. I came from D2, so I'm gonna work for it.
All right, Judon is getting ready to get paid. He's gonna play first. Matthew Waters joins us next. One change in the legislature in Missouri is that this guy who's just totally against sports betting there is not going away.
This has been in progress since last fall. They got 300 and some thousand signatures. All they needed was 170, but those were all certified by local election boards. That had to be done by earlier this month. By tomorrow, the Secretary of State has to verify all those signatures.
NewsWire, only on SportsGrid.
Hey, let's say it comes down for Matt Kuchar in the FedEx Cup fall. Let's say he doesn't make a cut, and it comes down to one shot. And
That's a good point.
And he keeps his card for the top 125 because he did make the jump from, I think it was 113 to 103. So he made a 10-spot jump. So he's got, 17, or let's see, that was not good math. He's got about 20.
Not a bad one. The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
If the U.S. gets to a bad start and they're down or close, I may double down on the second quarter because I know that that's when Steve Kerr is going to want to either A, if it's close, open it up. If they're losing, you got to get the lead because you don't want teams like it was in South Sudan that believe that they can win.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Let's go.
Welcome to the Live Golf Team Championship.
The golf has been mesmerizing.
They are the Live Golf Team Champions.
Team golf is back.
Oh, yes! Are you ready?
Let's go! That's what champions do.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Today we have Matthew Waters from Legal Sports Report. We're going to touch on a couple of different sports betting operators. In fact, we're going to go all around. We're going to hit on DraftKings, FanDuel, BetMGM here on the show today. Matt, great to have you back here on NewsWire. Thanks for coming on.
Always happy to be here. Hey, I can only notice Mike Gundy sounds a whole lot different about the player than he did back when his, what was it, 2007? I'm a man, I'm 40 rant. Things have changed a lot since then.
And so has college football in a big way this year, too, although his hair looks the same. Anyway, all right, Matt, so let's touch on DraftKings here, and let's kind of review the last couple of weeks here. They just had their stock update here. And, initially, for people who are unfamiliar, DraftKings made an announcement that they were going to add a surcharge to sports betting winnings. They walked that back. And I'm sure investors, especially large investors or DraftKings, are watching these numbers just go up and down and up and down, sort of a roller coaster ride for them, I would imagine.
Craig, it was really interesting the way that DraftKings did this. DraftKings announced their earnings, and they announced it the night before they had the call. And hidden in the investor letter that they had was an explanation as to why they were implementing the surcharge in states that had higher than a 20% tax rate. And it kind of went crazy on social media because people were just saying, why would anyone bet with DraftKings in those states then? All things being equal, why would you go to an operator who is going to take more money from your winnings than someone else? It's even more clear cut than just price shopping and line shopping at that point, right? You see it on your bet slip that this is what's going to be deducted from your winnings. So the stock didn't do too well after that. And you know what? The stock market was shaky on those days. DraftKings also announced that they were, they expect higher losses than expected in some areas. So it was muddled, but obviously this had a lot to do with it because naturally everybody said, okay, what's FanDuel going to do? Well, FanDuel did not match it. And shortly after that, it was only 12 days after DraftKings said they were doing it, and 11 days after DraftKings CEO Jason Robbins said it would take quite a lot for DraftKings to decide not to do this. DraftKings announced shortly after FanDuel said no that they would be scrapping the idea as well. Can't really give you a good reason as to why they did it this way, Craig, and why they tried. But you know what? As far as investors are concerned, they're just happy that it's over. The stock dipped below $29 for a little bit. It was a big dip. It was down 15% on Monday morning after the Friday conference call, but they've made all that back and more since just last week when FanDuel said no. And then DraftKings said no too. Look, I thought DraftKings would be dragged for longer than this than they have been. I didn't actually see the surcharge ever coming into effect because, again, they were getting left out on an island left and right by operators saying, no, we're not going to do this. But really, DraftKings is doing okay now. They have not taken a black eye from this, and I would kind of just putting it in the rearview mirror, So investors are happy. The stock over those 12 days, more than half those days, it traded at higher than the average volume. So it was really on the minds of a lot of people throughout that whole time. But now we know that DraftKings, after no one else joined them, will not be adding this surcharge, and I think it's pretty clear that everybody is happier this way.
Yeah, no, I would agree. It's just the whole strange appearance, I think, for DraftKings is what everyone is really talking about. Why even put this out if you're going to walk it back? Was it just to see the reaction from people? That was part of it. All right, so football season is basically here. Week 0 is here. Sports bettors, Matt, maybe they don't jump all in on this week, but by the time Labor Day comes and then you have the NFL, they're back in. And I think we're going to start hearing stories from FanDuel, DraftKings, MGM, a lot of promos, different things happening with the launch of football season. So I'm not surprised to see that BetMGM is one of those companies doing so.
Yeah, BetMGM has been working on their technology for a long time, Craig, and they finally, I believe it's tomorrow, they finally will have their single wallet, single account live across all of their BetMGM online states. Nevada is the last one to go live, and that's huge for BetMGM and its parent companies, MGM Resorts and Entain. Because when you think about Vegas, first of all, it doesn't have the DraftKings and the FanDuels. So you're already looking at, when you go to Vegas, a lot of these bettors, a majority of these bettors do not have access to their online sportsbook when they go out there. Then you're also hit with the fact that Las Vegas and Nevada, you still have to sign up in person. That's not the easiest thing to do on a football Sunday in Vegas, Craig. It's hard enough to get a seat at a sports book, let alone walk up to a window and open an account. So now BetMGM has it where if you live in Colorado, you live in Pennsylvania, you live in New Jersey, when you travel to Las Vegas, you don't have to do any of that now. Your account's already funded, your account's already live, and you can be betting with BetMGM. On the flip side, if you're someone that goes to Vegas a lot and you use BetMGM a lot, now that account is now available in all the other states, including whatever home state you may be returning to. And so BetMGM thinks that this is going to be a way for them to hang on to customers for longer and bring more customers, more bettors into their ecosystem if those bettors care about MGM rewards, right? You talk about the BetMGM rewards program, and you talk about Caesars and all these other companies that have their loyalty programs. And when we get to the point of all other things being equal between these sports books, that will come into play. People are always looking to add value where they can. And so BetMGM thinks this is huge. MGM CEO Bill Hornbuckle said, I think it finally unlocks our database, enables people to take their wallets and go home to places like Colorado, still have funds that they can share. It was something that happened early in the sports betting launches, Craig. A lot of states had individual apps for their sports books so they could get it up faster. It takes more time, obviously, to integrate all these things and have it working at scale. And now that pretty much is an issue of the past.
Yeah, no, and look, I think definitely this individual wallet will definitely be something that other companies try and emulate and follow as well. Let's get to FanDuel now. I saw this story that you have posted, a Legal Sports Report. I would encourage people to read this. and certainly you can make your own judgment from it. But it involves a lawsuit. I see Nigel Eccles' name mentioned in here for some of the things that he posted on social media. Actually, I met Nigel many years ago when FanDuel launched their daily fantasy product. In fact, I had him on shows and things like that. What exactly happened yesterday, and what is this lawsuit all about?
So here's what we have going on, Craig. When Paddy Power Betfair merged with FanDuel to become this Flutter company, this larger company, FanDuel shareholders got 40% of the company. The problem is that allegedly, the valuation of FanDuel was, you could say, maybe messed with a little bit. So the valuation didn't hit the point where all shareholders got paid out. Only preferred shareholders would get paid out in this, which winds up giving them a bigger stake. It was finally ruled a couple months ago that this lawsuit can go forward with co-founder Nigel Eccles and others who are still looking to be paid from that transaction. So, yeah, I would also encourage anyone to go read this, Craig. Have fun reading the 216-page file that details exactly how all this went down. But, yeah, really interesting story there, Craig.
Yeah, I mean, 200 pages in a lawsuit, that seems low these days for a lawsuit. But anyway, LegalSportsReport.com is the website. You can read all about it. Matthew Waters has his column up there. Matt, great to see you again. We'll talk again soon.
Thanks, sir. Appreciate it.
All right, coming up next, it's the team that's been making the most off-the-field news with signings. It's the Atlanta Falcons. Marc Raimondi is going to join us next. He covers the team. We'll find out what the optimism level is right now for Atlanta after the break. One change in the legislature in Missouri is that this guy who's just totally against sports betting there is not going away.
This has been in progress since last fall. They got 300 and some thousand signatures. All they needed was 170, but those were all certified by local election boards. That had to be done by earlier this month. By tomorrow, the Secretary of State has to verify all those signatures.
NewsWire, only on SportsGrid.
Hey, let's say it comes down for Matt Kuchar in the FedEx Cup ball. Let's say he doesn't make a cut, and it comes down to one shot. And
that's a good point.
And he keeps his card for the top 125 because he did make the jump from, I think it was 113 to 103. So he made a 10-spot jump. So he's got, 17, or let's see, that was not good math. He's got about 20.
Not a math bot. The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
If the U.S. gets to a bad start and they're down or close, I may double down on the second quarter because I know that that's when Steve Kerr is going to want to either A, if it's close, open it up. If they're losing, you got to get the lead because you don't want teams like it was in South Sudan that believe that they can win.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Let's go. Welcome to the Live Golf Team Championship.
The golf has been mesmerizing.
They are the Live Golf Team Champions.
Team golf is back.
Oh, yes! Are you ready?
Let's go!
That's what champions do.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. The off-season NFL newsmakers are really the fun teams to talk about. The Atlanta Falcons definitely categorized as one of those, whether it's the draft or a trade or a signing. It seems like they've just always been in the news. So Marc Raimondi comes over, he covers the Atlanta Falcons. He thinks, all right, I'm going to come in, transition over covering the NFL for ESPN, and this is just going to be easy going here. And Mark, it's been the opposite, man. Like the Falcons are just continuing to do things that are a little bit unexpected. I guess that's fair to say. Thanks for coming on.
My first week on the beat, Craig, was draft week, and everyone told me it's going to be relatively straightforward, pretty boring. They're gonna get defense in the first round. Everyone knows that, right? And they go out and they're the story of the entire draft. And they take Michael Penix Jr. at number 8, and it was a very busy weekend. It was a lot of fun, but certainly polarizing pick that I think has aged well now. But yeah, I mean, when we talk about Kirk Cousins coming in, they draft Michael Penix Jr., and now they just acquired 2 Pro Bowl defensive players in the last week. It's been an eventful time in Georgia, so it's been fun to keep up with.
Yeah, and a new head coach too for you to deal with in Raheem Morris, who has a lot of experience, of course, in the NFL. He used to coach the Buccaneers. What I would like to, I guess, start with here is Arthur Smith, who departed. And I know that you weren't covering the team as part of that. It feels to me like the Falcons, in firing him and bringing in Morris and doing all these things, kind of felt like their team should have been a lot better than what it was. Because normally when something like this happens, it's kind of a transition period, Mark. But instead of this transition period, it feels like Arthur Blank looked at the team and said, wow, this is a major underachieving team. If we just add a couple of pieces, maybe we'll be a lot better than last year. At least that's my perception of it.
Yeah, I think if you look back, Craig, at last year's Falcons, they started off pretty strong, and they lost a lot of close games. They lost a lot of games where they were leading in the fourth quarter. And, I mean, we're talking about 4 or 5 games that maybe they win even 2 of them. It's a totally different story because they went 7-10. So maybe they're 9-8. Maybe they're even 10-7. Who knows? So I think that it was a team that there's certainly no rebuild happening down here in Atlanta. That's for sure. Raheem Morris is taking over a team that already had a pretty decent core of good players, especially good young players at the skill positions. Bijan Robinson, Drake London, Kyle Pitts. These are guys that could be star players in the NFL with the right scheme, with the right quarterback, which they now have having Kirk Cousins. And that was the big priority of the offseason, is to get that guy. So 100%, there's no rebuild, and it looks like they're the favorites right now to win the division. Of course, it's a results-based business, the NFL, so we'll see what happens during the season. But that's kind of where things are right now. There's a lot of hope down here in Atlanta.
Yeah, and Mark, I think that's fair. Again, if you just look at data, teams that usually lose a lot of close games, that sort of evens out the next year. Not that you win all those close games, but maybe you win more of them. Not a ton of notable departures, I don't think, for the Falcons really to talk about, but the key addition, as you mentioned, and it is a quarterback league, so we just go right there, is to Kirk Cousins. And so with you being around and covering him, it seems to me that he's saying all the right things ever since the Penix move was made, and he's the starting quarterback going into the season. I guess I would ask you, Mark, is there narrative with any over-the-shoulder looking or anything like that? Because it just does feel like Cousins has always had some sort of adversity over the course of his career. Is this any different?
It's true, and I think that adversity has helped him deal with situations like these with Michael Penix Jr. I think initially there was some consternation. I think it bugged him just naturally, because this is a guy that was coming into Atlanta. He talked about wanting to retire with the Falcons. He has history in the city. His wife is from the Atlanta area. They got married here. So his in-laws are all here. They're all big Falcons fans. So I think he saw this as a place where he could retire, and maybe that will not be the case depending on how things go in the next few years. Michael Penix Jr. kind of like looming as a team's quarterback of the future. But look, Kirk Cousins is his team right now, and it's his team for the foreseeable future, and he has acted that way. He has been a leader. He has brought his skill position players on trips to go see John Gruden down in Tampa. He has really taken like the offensive line guys. They've gone out to dinner, and they've hung out, and they've done barbecues at the offensive line coach's house, Dwayne Ledford. So he's definitely taking it upon himself to be the leader of this team, to be the captain, Captain Kirk. And that's something the team has not really had over the last several years, especially in the quarterback position.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely fair. And so you've seen Penix play probably more than anybody else in these practice sessions, where some of it there's video and some of it there's not. You would have to tell me, it sounds like he's not playing in the third preseason game. So it's clipboard time, I guess, for him. Is it not, Mark?
He's not playing, and he did not play last week either against the Ravens, but he's looked pretty good. He played pretty well in the first preseason game against the Dolphins, and that game was kind of indicative of exactly how he's played in practice. And you've seen a progression from him from OTAs to now. He's gotten more consistent. His decision-making is better. And we know about the arm talent. I mean, he can fit it into a very tight window, and he can throw a gorgeous deep ball. And as he develops, I think it's exciting for Falcons to see, where he is, this year, next year, and then when he can maybe start in 2026 potentially.
All right, so if the Falcons are the favorite, who is the biggest challenger, you think, in the division? I know it's not Carolina. They only won 2 games last year. If they win 3, that's an improvement. This was a boring division last year until Baker got hot at the end, Mark. Is that the case again? Is it Tampa Bay being the biggest challenger? Saints are another one of these teams. It's just like, no offense to a Carr in that team, but it's kind of a boring squad.
I think Tampa Bay is definitely the other favorite in the division, you could say. If Baker Mayfield comes back and has another good season like he did last year, I would put them kind of right there with the Falcons as far as the favorites. New Orleans has a lot of holes, but they have some good players. Their offensive line is kind of a mess right now. They don't really know what's going to happen with those guys. But I would say, if I was handicapping, I would say, Falcons and Bucks are kind of 1 and 2 right now, and it's pretty close.
All right. Well, Mark, great stuff as always. Enjoy the season covering the Falcons for ESPN, and we'll catch up with you again soon. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, Craig.
All right. Marc Raimondi, you could catch all of his work over at ESPN, also covered the UFC for over a decade as well. We'll take a quick time out here on the show. Last licks coming up next is Tyreek Hill getting ready for a big race. Also, his teammate, Tua Tagovailoa, does not hold back on his former head coach. And is it possible that a new club in New York opens up with a very popular hip-hop rap artist, and a sports book is there? We'll tell you all about those stories and more as we get ready to wrap it up next. This is NewsWire on SportsGrid. We'll take a quick time out and come back with some last licks right after the break. Don't go away. One change in the legislature in Missouri is that this guy who's just totally against sports betting there is not going away.
This has been in progress since last fall. They got 300 and some thousand signatures. All they needed was 170, but those were all certified by local election boards. That had to be done by earlier this month. By tomorrow, the Secretary of State has to verify all those signatures.
NewsWire, only on SportsGrid.
Hey, let's say it comes down for Matt Kuchar in the FedEx Cup ball. Let's say he doesn't make a cut, and it comes down to one shot. And
That's a good point.
And he keeps his card for the top 125 because he did make the jump from, I think it was 113 to 103. So he made a 10-spot jump. So he's got, 17, or let's see, that was not good math. He's got about
Not a math bot. The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
If the U.S. gets to a bad start and they're down or close, I may double down on the second quarter because I know that that's when Steve Kerr is going to want to either A, if it's close, open it up. If they're losing, you got to get the lead because you don't want teams like it was in South Sudan that believe that they can win.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Let's go. Welcome to the Live Golf Team Championship.
The golf has been mesmerizing.
They are the Live Golf Team Champions.
Team golf is back.
Oh, yes! Are you ready? Let's go! That's what champions do.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Time now for us to dive into some hot topics, including Noah Lyles maybe getting a challenge to a race, also Tua going off on his former head coach, that and a whole lot more. It's time now for some last licks. All right, we'll start off with Jay-Z, who is a big sports fan, but this is not really sports related until you hear me get to the end of the story. Jay-Z had a pop-up shop. Fanatics had a big fan fest signing autographs. Tom Brady, everybody was there over the weekend, including Jay-Z, who showed up for his buddy Michael Rubin. And Jay-Z also is an owner of these 40/40 clubs, burger joints, etc. Made the announcement, very interesting, in New York, that one of the, or maybe several of the 40/40 clubs that he owns are actually going to have the Fanatics Sportsbook inside the clubs. That's brand new for Jay-Z and these operations, which are obviously very popular. But in the pop-up, the announcement was made. Of course, Fanatics is now in the sports betting industry, not to mention all these sports memorabilia, autograph signings, and everything else. So one piece of news to give you here at the end of the show: if you're headed to the 40/40 Club in New York City in the future, you may be able to bet on sports inside the club. Meanwhile, a couple of notes on Tyreek Hill today as we begin. First note is it's being reported that Hill has a brace on his right hand and is not practicing today for the Dolphins. That's not what I thought I was going to give you, but that is happening right now. So just wanted to start off with that. Now, secondly, with Tyreek Hill, he has challenged Noah Lyles, a gold medalist, to a race. Lyles was recently interviewed with Shannon Sharp and said that he kind of knew who he was. He said, "Isn't that guy the cheetah?" or something like that. And then Tyreek Hill, who's not afraid of anything in life, including social media, went and said, "Hey, look, I will sign the contract anytime you want." So is it possible that we could see this 50-yard race go off after the NFL season is over? The only thing that I would have to add to this conversation, if I am Tyreek Hill, is every year that you don't do this is every year you're getting older, and every year you're getting a little slower. I mean, this is just a fact. I'm not saying that Tyreek is slow. He's still probably the fastest player in the league. But as you approach 32 and 33 and 31 and all these ages, you got to make sure you get this in, or else you're going to look a little bit silly. But can Tyreek actually beat Lyles in a race? My answer is probably going to be no. All right, so the final piece of the puzzle here to our show here today is Tua Tagovailoa, who sat down with the Dan Le Batard show and company over on DraftKings and basically let his former head coach Brian Flores have it. You may remember the saga of Flores as head coach and potentially looking for another quarterback, as to whether or not he got along with Tua at the time. Make no mistake about it, they did not. Tua had some pretty harsh commentary, basically saying that every day he was told that he was not good enough to play quarterback in the NFL by his former coach, and then was told by other people in the building that he was good enough to play in the NFL. And then, of course, there's that controversy as to whether or not the owner actually was interested in signing Tom Brady when they met on a boat at some point. Who really knows? Doesn't matter anymore. Tua is the quarterback of the Dolphins. But the bottom line is that no one wants to feel like they're not wanted at their workplace. And without a doubt, Tua felt like that with Flores as the head coach there. Remember, Flores then blew the whistle on the owner and on the Dolphins in the tanking situation. He is now back in the NFL and doing a great job, by the way, as defensive coordinator. But needless to say, the love lost for Tua and Flores is not there. That will do it for our show today, folks. Make sure you stick with us because the early line's coming up at 12 o'clock Eastern. Maybe you'll get to see me again. Not sure how that works, but potentially. Kaplan and crew coming your way at 1 o'clock Eastern, followed by Pharrell Coast to Coast at 3. Game time decisions at 6. In-game live prime time immediately after that. And then Gabe tonight on Sports Rage, which is the very latest in the WNBA. And as we get closer to college football, he'll have his picks as well. Thanks to Marc Raimondi of ESPN for covering the Atlanta Falcons for us, Matthew Waters from Legal Sports Report, and Gilbert McGregor from Sporting News. Thanks to our director, Luke, and our producer, Frank. I'm Craig Bish. Be back with you on the show tomorrow as we get ready for week 0 of college football. Don't forget, great programming coming your way Saturday morning, leading you up until kickoff, the first game of the day, Saturday at noon Eastern, Florida State and Georgia Tech. That will be the first game of the season. Later this week, we'll preview all the games with Bill Bender and talk to some of the broadcasters involved in some of these games as well, as football season is officially here at SportsGrid. Hope you enjoy the rest of the day. Enjoy the baseball action, WNBA, and great to have you here on this edition of NewsWire. I'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place, 11 a.m. Eastern, exclusively here on SportsGrid. See you then.